Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Zeke, and today I'm going to analyze my own solo chicken dinner in PUBG to give you some tips to succeed at getting that solo chicken dinner of your own. Okay, so the first thing you can analyze in most any game of PUBG is a drop. You want to obviously be the first one to get there, but if you're not, as in this case, you want to go somewhere else so you don't get killed by someone who has grabbed a gun before you. So just loot somewhere else so you'll be prepared for your first engagement. Now, as far as first engagements go, I chose to play this game more conservatively, and rather than run around and try to loot every room and be unprepared for a gunfight, I used my headset to listen for people, and as soon as I heard somebody below me, I posted up and waited for the engagement. After this first engagement didn't pan out right away and me killing him, I decided to take another angle to try and get another shot at him. Reapproaching from the same direction is always too predictable, so try and change it up by coming from another direction. After looting this guy, I decided to go over to the pool. I still heard people tromping around, and to be more conservative, I just wanted to wait for somebody to approach me. I placed a first aid and hoped someone would come in, but the trap really didn't pan out, and this is actually just an uninteresting moment in the game. And even though this trap did not work out, this could have been useful if someone actually had come through. It helps you stay alive and also get some kills and move on with the game. After my trap didn't work out, I spotted a UAZ. Before running to the UAZ, however, I checked to make sure no one else was peeking at the school or looking in my direction, so that way when I ran I wouldn't get shot in the back. Upon arriving to the UAZ, I checked my map and realized that the school and the dormitories near it were near the edge of the circle. Being that they're both near the edge of the circle, I figured that I could wait outside and steal the loot from anybody who had been in there, since they'll have to come into the circle. Once I drove to the dormitories, I got out of my Jeep and moved up a little closer so I could wait for anyone to come out. But after I got out of the Jeep, I made sure to mark where it was in the woods, because sometimes it can get lost behind a tree and you don't want to have to look for it when the circle comes. Now, when playing like a rat, I mean playing conservatively, you're going to want to set up somewhere that has lots of cover and will be hard to see you from. After your walking loot crate emerges from the building you suspect he or she is in, you can take them out and then proceed to loot. However, you should not loot immediately if your weapon wasn't silenced or you suspect that you've drawn attention to yourself. If that's the case, look around, wait till you think it's safe, then go ahead and loot. After gearing up, it's a good idea to get just inside the circle and kind of hold up there until you see where the circle is going to shift. The changing shape of the circle and where it is in the landscape will often change how your gameplay strategy unfolds. At this point, the circle changed and moved over Pochinki, at which point I recommend praying to gods that you don't necessarily believe in. Oh look, a drop. Or really just people bait. Or at least that's how I used it. Especially since this drop was next to Pochinki, I recommend not engaging in drops that are near high profile areas, because they're really just going to be bullet magnets. Bullet magnets they are indeed. I ended up picking up 2 kills and decided to move on past the crate, as I would die trying to get it anyway, and the circle was coming, so it was a good idea to move in. Sometimes you'll be forced to run into the circle and you might not be ready for gunfights you'll get into when you get there. Any gunfight you get in does not necessarily mean you have to finish it. If you're not prepared and not ready, don't be afraid to take cover, recuperate, and get back in. It is at this point that I'd like to reinforce the idea of always keeping an eye on the circle and always positioning yourself, as the circle and its movement is such a crucial part of this game. I took this opportunity to run away from a gunfight, take cover, and reposition myself according to the circle to be set up for the next rotation. Once I got into a building that was inside the circle and I felt was safe, I decided it was a good idea to pick up a shotgun, as I thought the circle might end up in Pochinki and I would have to be in a lot of close range engagements. It did not end up that way, but it is important to point this out, as it could have ended up that way. Again, I'm always taking the time to look at the circle and plan my next movement relative to its location. Before inevitably being forced out into the open by the changing location of the circle, I thought it would be a good idea to check the building that was next to me to eliminate at least one more possible spot where there could be somebody waiting to shoot me or anyone else in the back that moves into the circle before him. There was no one there, but this is an important thing to keep in mind when moving. It should almost go with saying at this point, but when you're running out in the open, you need to take as much cover from whatever you can. Run from bush to bush, tree to tree, and especially in flat fields, crouch run if the circle will allow it. You will have a greater advantage at this point if you have a silenced weapon. Do not make any engagements that you don't need to, or think that will give away your position. Sometimes you will see that there are situations when you can pop up quickly, get a silenced kill, and move on. Again, if you don't have a silencer, probably best not to engage at all. Hopefully by this point you're already looted, and it should be obvious that you don't want to try to loot people, especially in an open field setting like this. There are special cases in which perhaps you're in a building and you've killed one person, but in general, toward the end, 10 and under, probably not a good idea to loot. It'll get you killed more oftentimes than it will reward you. At this point in the game, it's really about being stealthy and staying alive. Letting other people kill each other and surviving is oftentimes the best situation in a 10 and under scenario. As you can see here, I chose to remain crawling from spot to spot rather than getting up and running. Getting up and running is more than likely going to reveal you to somebody looking around, and it's just better to be patient, don't get antsy, play your life, and pay attention to the circle. Now, sometimes you will get pushed and have to get up and run, but if you pay attention to that circle, you should be able to play it stealthily throughout. Nothing did end up happening in this spot, and I did accidentally move a little too slowly and got zoned for a few seconds. It wasn't a problem though, as I wasn't spotted and I ended up healing up. Just inside the new circle, I found a bush to post up in. Again, I didn't think I was seen. Thought it was safe to heal up, and being that there were only 3 alive, I knew that the next gun engagement that happens, I could come in and clean up and hopefully get the victory. As like 500 grenades started rolling in, I was initially nervous, but then I realized they were nowhere near me, so either that guy was chucking them randomly or throwing them at someone else, so there was no need to move. As my hopeful plan comes to a close here and they start getting in a gunfight, I stand up in the bush and still remain hidden and wait to see that either one of them is almost nearly dead or dead to take my shot. The other player gets killed behind the rock or zoned to my knowledge, and I then take that opportunity to shoot the other player in the back to get the chicken dinner. Let's go, baby! Woo! Keep in mind at the end of this video that there are a million ways to strategize for PUBG. I just thought I'd do a video specifically on what led me to success in this game. If you found anything helpful, insightful, or even just entertaining, you can go ahead and sub to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.